Hello, you're listening to the OmniTalk Fast Five, brought to you in partnership with Microsoft, the A&M Consumer and Retail Group, Takeoff, Sezzle, and Silk. The OmniTalk Fast Five podcast is the podcast that we hope makes you feel a little smarter, but most importantly, a little happier each week too. Today is November 17th. I'm your host, Ann Mazinga.
And I'm Chris Walton.
And we are here once again to discuss all the headlines making waves in the world of omnichannel retailing. And joining us today, back for their regular monthly appearance, are the A&M Consumer and Retail Group's Jonathan Sharp and Billy Christensen. Welcome, both of you. Jonathan, welcome back. How are you doing today? Are you ready for a wonderful Fast Five?
I'm very happy to be back with you. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Chris. Looking forward to it. Kind of winter's come here, so you need something to warm me up. But I'm pretty sure the band will do that, right?
I think the topics today might do that, Jonathan.
They're pretty hot. It's snowing outside, Jonathan. Jonathan, how many appearances is this for you now? What is this? Three, four?
I think this might be three. It might feel like 30 to you guys, but I think it's three.
Never.
No, you're one of our favorites, man, for sure.
Well, Jonathan, give those who might not know you or might not have listened to previous podcasts that you've been a part of, give them a little background on you and your role at A&M, please, if you would.
Of course, thank you. So I am a partner managing director at Alvarez & Marsal's Consumer and Retail Group. I've worked in retail probably for too long than I care to remember. Amongst other things, I've done a lot of work in grocery, and for A&M, I lead our work on consumer sentiment and our 6-monthly consumer sentiment survey.
Excellent. It's always a great survey. We usually get to sit down with Jonathan to talk about those. So check those out if you haven't already. And Billy, you're a first timer here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your role at A&M?
Well, thanks for having me. I hope this is my maiden voyage and not my only voyage.
Right. Yes. Great point.
But I've been with the A&M CRG team now for a couple of months. My background, I was an industry operator for 20 years before making the switch over to consulting a few years ago. And then have not looked back since my change to consulting. So I've worked with retailers large and small, consumer, as well as on the branded side of the world. But really excited to be here today. Thank you all so much for having me.
It's great to have you, man.
It is. I know. We're excited. Do you have a headline you're most excited about this week, Billy?
I do.
You do? Are you gonna give us a tease what it might be?
No, let's let the people wait.
He's keeping us in suspense.
Let's build the suspense.
They'll just be able to tell from your exuberance about the topic. All right, yes. I love it. It. That's what we like. That's what we like about this show. All right,
that's perfect. Chris, you're at home today.
Yes, I am at home today.
We got in late from Dallas last night. Are you ready to rock these amazing headlines that we have today?
I am, for sure, 100%. I'm pretty excited about it. It's been a big week though, Ann. We went to SPS. Yeah, had a first article published in the Wall Street Journal too.
Yeah,
thanks Dell and NVIDIA if you're listening for that. That was a pretty cool feather in the cap this week as well. But yeah, let's get to the headlines. So today's Fast Five headlines are brought to you with the help and support of Manifest. Manifest is the who's who conference in supply chain, and it's January 31st to February 2nd in Las Vegas. OmniTalk fans, don't forget you can still save $200 on your registration by heading to manifest/OmniTalk. That's MANIFE.ST/OmniTalk. All right, Ann, in today's Fast Five, we've got news on Gap launching a store on Amazon, TikTok piloting in-app commerce in the United States, Nike's launch of .swoosh, which I just like saying, Ann, .swoosh.
Of course.
Swoosh. Victoria's Secret's new fit tech partner. But first, we take off with big and pun intended news out of Target this week, Ann.
I love when you can get a pun in there, Chris.
It won't be the first. It won't be the last. Ann.
Yes,
it's just the
our
first
listeners,
of many more.
Everybody's well aware of this. So let's get to it. So headline number one. Target last week, in advance of dismal Q3 earnings, announced a new, larger 150,000 square foot format. So according to Retail Dive, the format will be its primary development focus in the coming years, while it will still continue to open stores of other sizes as well. The extra square footage includes 5 times more space for the backroom fulfillment than a traditional Target store has. And the format also has space for more merchandise assortment, including room for expanded food and beverage selection, according to Target. Lastly, the company also pointed out to years, quote, years of research. Yes. We have no idea what they're talking about, of research behind the new design and this larger store strategy. Jonathan, we're going to go to you, our seasoned veteran here. What are we supposed to be making of this headline? Is this like the real deal here? Is this just PR trying to pump everybody up before the earnings report came out this week? What are your thoughts?
Well, big box is back, right? Did it ever go away? But we're allowed to talk about it again.
Yes.
So, look, here's my view on this. Well, firstly, I guess to your first question around, was this just a kind of a cookie to throw to the street because of some bad earnings? It's quite a risky one for that, right? Because it implies capital intensity. So you would actually not be happy as an analyst with a company that's having earnings trouble then saying our capital intensity is going to go up. So I can't imagine it's that. First of all, my reaction was, as I said, which is, whoa, big box is back. Flares will be back, and I'll be fashionable again.
Flares are back, Jonathan. That's like, that's what you should be buying right now.
I know. I realized as I said it, which I just kind of outed myself.
Let's not talk crazy, Jonathan. You're being fashionable. That's ludicrous. Okay, I'm
so off the zeitgeist. It's unbelievable. But look. So first of all, I thought, right, okay, so it's big box. Where are they putting the space? Are they actually going to crack grocery at last? Are they going to get rid of this kind of quite problem I've always thought they had, which is they're quite compartmentalized, which is it's quite difficult to shop all of the stuff that they try to be credible and authoritative in. But the more I've thought about this, I wonder actually if this is not the return of big box stores. This is actually the expansion of kind of dark stores and fulfillment centers. Yeah. Yep. This is a fulfillment center play, isn't it? This is a 24-hour fulfillment, compete with Amazon Prime delivery and do a bit of extra retail on the back, probably with an attempt to crack grocery because that drives traffic. So that was kind of my sense. And the other thing that I was thinking about was, the other reason I can't think it's a kind of pure retail big box play is that a lot of the messages coming out of our consumer sentiment survey post-COVID and continuing is that consumers are consolidating their shop. And therefore, are Target really going to pick up the sort of the marginal grocery shopper with them fragmenting their shop? I'm not so sure. This feels to me like an Amazon Prime play.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I agree completely. I think, it's only 20,000 square feet in the grand scheme of things. So, and most of that, I presume, will be going to, back of house. That makes sense as they're expanding distribution centers, they're expanding sortation centers. But Billy, what's your take here?
I agree with Jonathan. I thought my thoughts immediately on this were this is all about a DC type setup. The one thing I will say that did excite me from the article was the picture, and which I'm guessing is from that store in Houston that they were, that the article mentioned, the covered bays as a pickup point. Right. That as a consumer that gets me excited because too many times I've done that in inclement weather, and that's not a great experience for the store associate or for the customer. So if that's baked into what their plans are, I think that's super, and I actually think that that's a positive, for them, and will be a differentiator because I haven't, at scale at least, seen anybody else attempt that. So I think that would be a really big differentiator for them if that's baked into what they're trying to do.
Yeah, it is a grand architectural gesture for sure. I mean, the likes of which I think, we've started to see at H-E-B. Chris and I went down to their Frisco store last week. They have the big covered awnings, but yeah, you're right. Like even Walmart's are quite small when you compare it to that rendering that we saw at the Houston store. But Chris, you have some strong opinions here. We'll go to you next, and I'd like you to share what you think about this announcement.
I do. I think there's some subtle points that you can pick up in this announcement too, which I think are really interesting. I agree with both of what Jonathan and Billy said. Like it seems like it's a fulfillment play. It's a micro warehousing play for the most part, because you're right. It's an incremental 20,000 square feet, which on 125,000 square foot box really isn't all that much extra space. But, you know, I think it's funny, the story to me, because like, honestly, like how many of these can they actually build? They have like 2,000 stores already throughout the country. Like the incremental value of these has got to be relatively small on the sales side. It's only got to be for a distribution play, to the point. But the other counter to me is that in the headline is what it implies about the small store strategy, because, you know, they were big in the small store thing for a while. Now they're saying they're going the opposite direction, which I think is a proof point, which we've been saying all along, which is the small store strategy is really a road to nowhere when you have that many stores already throughout the country, because it's going to be smaller volume stores. You can only build so many of them. It's not going to drive significant growth and comp in the long run. So that's what I take away from it here, which begs another question to me, which is, how is Target going to continue to move the needle on growth? Where's the dry powder in the keg at Target? They don't have a subscription program like Walmart Plus or Amazon Prime. They have no Target technology services, a la like Walmart or Amazon does. They're not looking at that from a business to business standpoint at all, from what our sources are telling us. So like, you know, so my question is like, I think at this point, we've seen the height of what Target can be during the pandemic when everyone was forced to be a one-stop shop. And Brian Cornell, as lucky as he is, was the guy that happened to be at the dealer table, at the blackjack table, right when the dealer busted. And so I think that's my question here is, where's the growth coming from? It's not going to be a large format store.
Yeah, Chris, I'm with you. I mean, for me, the biggest disappointment in this announcement was, where's the tech? Where's the investment in, you know, checkout free, a checkout free small format store, like taking some of this 20,000 square feet and making it, you know, more convenient for customers to shop. Like, yes, you have curbside, but like, what other investments are you making, Target? There was nothing that was discussed in this. And most of those investments, even though they're, you know, they're tech investments, require some consideration from the infrastructural build out of the store. Like, even, you know, what I was surprised to see, Billy was mentioning the overhang, like, where's the Starbucks updates? Like, are they going to put a Starbucks next to curbside pickup now if they're going to be doing like Starbucks to like, and none of that part is included in this. Yep. And I love design as much as the next person. We spent a lot of time on it when we were at Target, Chris, but I bet if you asked a Target customer, would they rather have, quote, plants and regionally sourced reclaimed wood, end quote, or a shorter checkout line at Target, they would choose the latter. And that it was not even addressed here. And I cannot believe it. So yes, better distribution play, but I mean, come on, Target, come on.
Jonathan, last word before we go to headline number 2.
Well, Chris, and to your point, the thing that struck me in the last few weeks was, if you looked at the quarterly reporting cycle, right, you could arguably make a case that Walmart is beginning to meet the battle with Amazon, right? You'd also have to make the case that Target's just missed the invite to the war, right? I mean,
that's my point.
There is clearly a battle going to be joined between Walmart and Amazon. Target just aren't there. To your technology, to your point around kind of where's the growth, it wasn't just their results, it was the comparison relative to others.
Right. Then there's a difference between being lucky and being good. And I think we're going to find out what that means for Target here in the long run, you know, over time. But all right, headline number 2. Last Thursday, Gap officially launched its own store on Amazon. According to CNN, the new partnership with Amazon Fashion marks the first time that Gap itself is selling its products on the online marketplace. None of the Gap items are exclusive to Amazon. However, they will also be available for purchase in Gap stores and on Gap.com. Amazon said items from Gap store will be included for Prime delivery. Billy,
yes.
For you, what do you think of this move by the Gap? Is it about time, or is this something they should never, ever have considered doing? How would you advise people to think about this question?
I don't think my first opinion on this is going to be a hot opinion at that, and that's that this is going to benefit Amazon more than it's going to benefit Gap. This, right, from a marketplace perspective, right, Amazon makes money on it if something's sold through their, because this is really a marketplace concept. So that, one is it benefits them. 2, this, unfortunately for me, just also rings hollow when it comes to Gap and an overarching strategy of where they're going. I mean, Gap is an iconic American brand. I mean, I think back to my teenage years, and Gap was it. And through the years, right, just it hasn't evolved, and that's a well-documented occurrences. But I look at this and think, where's the strategy? Because all of the things that the Gap has done over the years, especially in recent years, right? You look at the tie-up with Kanye West, you look at the Gap Home and Walmart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things are just, it's so scattershot that this just being another thing to me, what's missing for me is where's the strategy? How does this tie into a strategy for the Gap brand? This just to me looks like, again, it's, oh, here's another thing, let's go for it. Oh, and so I'm hopeful that this does good things for Gap, just because I still have a great affinity for the brand and for the company. I'm just not sold that this is going to be beneficial to them at all.
Interesting. I'm curious. Anne, what do you think? Do you think this is a harbinger of more things to come, or do you think it's more of like a scattershot move from the Gap as Billy's describing it?
Well, I think so. I actually have a question for Billy before I get into my analysis, because I'm curious. I understand your perspective, Billy, but when does this make sense for a retailer? Like both for you and Jonathan, when you're working, you are operations backgrounds, and I'm sure a lot of people are thinking about this. We've seen several brands go to Amazon. When does it make sense for them to consider this as part of that strategy instead of being, just a scattered, we'll try this, try that, be in Walmart?
I've always taken the opinion that if distribution is an issue for you, or expanding distribution is an issue for you, then Amazon, whether it's a short-term or a long-term play, is something that absolutely should be looked into. Gap doesn't have a distribution issue. Right. Gap is so spread out and has so many distribution centers across the country and has that network that they've got already. In fact, I mean, there's news about them trying to leverage that as an income stream. Yeah. So it doesn't It doesn't in the way I think about retailers or big brand name retailers partnering with Amazon. It doesn't really fit the thesis that I typically look for, which is all around distribution.
Jonathan, what do you think?
So just maybe a counterpoint. I don't disagree with much of what Billy said in terms of, you'll search for a Gap strategy in vain over the last few months and years. But one potential benefit and one area where it might make sense is it does allow them to now control pricing and get out of minimum advertised pricing problems with Amazon and their product through third parties. So I think that is helpful for them. They can now manage being undercut by third parties on Amazon. The other thing that I was thinking about, in the spirit of this, the way Billy posed the question of kind of, is this Amazon strength or Gap weakness? The only slight thing it raised for me is, what does this mean about Amazon fashion and Amazon basics? What's going on there? There's just raised a little question for me about that.
Yeah, Jonathan, that's actually exactly what I think was kind of my thought about this story when I first read it. I actually think that this might be a good play for Gap, because I think you have Amazon Essentials, which is, the baseline. This is just standard stuff. It's going to be fast fashion, kind of cheaper product. I do think, like Billy was saying, like Gap's an iconic brand. Like there's a level of quality, I think, that people have come to expect through the years, that this kind of provides Amazon shoppers a good, better, best option to go to. And, Amazon Essentials maybe being the baseline, but then Gap being a little bit more durable, higher quality product. And then I think you do get the benefit now of, as a Gap purchaser, like they do have logistics, but you have to wait 5 to 7 days to get something from Gap right now. And so being able to get that Gap product, not have to go into a mall in a couple of days, I think that there may be more value, or there may be more strategy than meets the eye in this one.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And then we'll go to Billy. I'll go to you for the last word. But the thing I would add to what you just said, Anne, is if you actually look at how this shows up on Amazon, it's very much designed for a basics like shopping experience. Like the things you want to go get at the Gap, because it's a search experience. It's not inspirational at all. People go online, look at it. It's not inspirational at all. It's just the standard cut and dry Amazon experience. And it's a Gap branded shop, which was totally not what I expected. So I think you're right. My point on it though is like, I just feel like Amazon's America's mall at this point. Like, why wouldn't you just distribute there? Like it's the same as paying a leasing fee to like one of the mall operators. Like, why wouldn't you just do this? Like, what's the downside in it at this point? Billy, last word.
Yeah, and it's funny that you said that, because actually the last point the last thing that came to mind in this is, when I think about this as potentially not beneficial for Gap in a financial sense, is what is this going to do in terms of driving traffic to their stores? right? This is to your, and I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Amazon is America's mall at this point in time.
Yeah.
But the price of being in that mall is you're taking away from your owned properties today. And what does that mean for their future in brick and mortar retail?
That's a good point.
And how is this going to maybe, the Gap did go online 100% right in the UK in recent months or in the last 12 months, right? Yeah. I'm wondering how much of that experience has influenced their decision here, and is that foreboding of what's to come for the Gap brand in the United States?
Yeah, or other apparel retailers too. All right, wow, fascinating. Man, these topics are so meaty. We could spend the whole show on each one of them, but we got to keep rolling. So, Ann, let's see number 3.
All right, headline number 3, TikTok is piloting in-app commerce. According to Shane Storage, TikTok is officially testing an e-commerce feature called TikTok Shop in the US, after previously launching something by the same name in the UK and Southeast Asia. TikTok is currently limiting sales of products on TikTok Shop to invited U.S. retailers only, but plans to enable retailers outside the U.S. to participate in the American TikTok Shop over time. News outlet Semaphore also reports that the pilot of TikTok Shop in the U.S. is part of a larger effort by TikTok's parent company, China-based ByteDance, to establish a robust live stream shopping business in the U.S., which it internally refers to as Project Aquaman.
That is so great.
Yes. Billy, let's go to you here. Will TikTok find success in-app shopping in the U.S. when seemingly Instagram and Facebook have stalled on it? Or to our last headline, does the U.S. already have its own super app and it is called Amazon?
Yeah, I think reading this story and doing a little bit of research into this, where I'm at with this is I want to know more. I think there are the seeds of some things that could be really innovative, and I think futurists have been talking to the possibilities here for some time. But is TikTok Shop going to somehow, some way be linked to the content on the app? So in other words, I'm looking at an influencer and I'm able to say, ooh, I like that shirt. I want to buy that shirt. Is that where this is going? Or is this just another marketplace? If it's just another marketplace, I think the road to success is very steep for them and very rocky. But if somehow they're able to bring in that experience of the content and the shopping, I think that is a massive unlock. I don't know how they would do that, frankly, but if they're able to do that, I think that there's something really big there. I think also as part of this, if I'm QVC and HSN, I'm paying attention. Because they're the pioneers of the live streaming shopping experience, and their customer is as much involved with tech and their tech as somebody who's on TikTok. So I hope they're paying attention too, because I think that the applications here could be significant.
Chris, what are your thoughts here? You got...
Yeah, I mean, I would emphasize what Billy said and add to it. Like, I don't actually, as he's talking, I'm sitting here thinking, I don't think this has a chance in hell of working, because the US retailers are going to be smart about how they put content in social media. It goes back to what Vincent Yang at Firework has told us time and time again. Like, the retailers are going to take control of it through shoppable video, and they're going to put that content on their sites, and then they're going to farm it out to the social media networks, which directs the traffic back to them. That's how this is going to play out. So to the point, it's just going to become another marketplace. And if it's just another marketplace, we all have that already, and it's called Amazon. So, I just don't see it. And that's, government fears aside around TikTok too. I just don't see it happening right now. And it's also... The other point I make too, it's not good for Facebook either, but that's a whole nother side tangent that we don't need to go down. But that's my opinion. Like, I wouldn't bet on this right now. I don't think it's going to work.
Okay. I know I might have some scenarios to run by you, but Jonathan, what are your consumer sentiments that you've been doing over the last several months? What are they telling you about live shopping, and what do you think about this story?
Yeah, well, here's another point actually to add to this kind of skepticism. Very hot off the press, published yesterday. We looked at, we always ask about consumers' use of channels. And social commerce, of all channels options that we give, social commerce saw the biggest fall in a 6-month period. In fact, it halved in popularity amongst our respondents. It moved from being in the top 5 ranking of channel choice to number 11 out of 12.
Wow.
And I think there are some underlying economic reasons behind that, which is the consumer is continuing to retrench into basic needs. And, you can't buy your gas and groceries over Insta. By their very nature, social commerce products tend to be very discretionary, somewhat indulgent. And so it's failing. It's really suffering in this economic environment. Couple of other points on this specific. I think TikTok is probably one of the hardest channels to do this, which is that users on TikTok really value authenticity. And it's a very difficult media to interrupt. I'm struggling with that kind of sort of technical, kind of getting in the flow kind of aspect. The only other thing I'd say is it does highlight one of Amazon's weaknesses, which is Amazon is still not social, right? It's very functional. They tried that. What was it, that sort of shop along with me on the summer Prime Day on Twitch? Should I choose this or this? And you get your friends involved. But they've really only dipped their toe in it. And so it is interesting that people keep kind of coming at them from the social aspect. And I do think that is a vulnerability of Amazon. We called it America's Mall. It is, but it doesn't have the coffee shops and the Dunkin' and the places to hang out. It's kind of boring. It's a boring mall. So
it has the movies.
Remains.
It does. That's its ended around on the social media play is the streaming and the NFL package and stuff like that. But Anne, what do you think?
I think the things that
play devil's advocate. I know you want to.
I think the things that we're missing here are, one, that I agree, Jonathan, like authenticity is important, but you also want the option. And right now, TikTok is doing this. They partnered with Shopify a while back, and they are allowing, especially those smaller to medium-sized businesses, to enable transactions, in Shopify or taking them directly to their Shopify stores, which I think makes sense here. We are forgetting about the very powerful nature of influencer marketing, especially for those local boutiques, like the smaller businesses that leverage this platform as their number one source of marketing. This is how they're getting their products out there. They're using localized micro influencers to help build this audience. And so I do think that this makes sense there. I agree with what Chris, you were saying, like for larger retailers, I don't think this is going to make a dent. And therefore, will it make a big enough dent in TikTok and commerce and TikTok overall? Because they're still going to use TikTok as a traffic driver, these larger brands, but they're going to be more focused on bringing consumers directly to their own sites. The last point I would make is now the e-com fulfillment centers that TikTok is opening makes so much more sense to me. I'm curious to hear what you guys think, but I think now that we're seeing like TikTok's, abroad influencers, content creators cannot ship product over here. They cannot take part in this yet. There's going to be a lot of like careful regulation around what they can import into the US. And so I think that what we're going to see here is exactly what Tony Shan of Alibaba is doing with Tmall, where they're creating consolidated distribution centers. They're allowing these overseas manufacturers to hold product here so that when they flip the switch and start letting those international retailers be on the platform, they have like quick distribution there. And that's how TikTok's going to kind of, make some cash here, really get into the commerce market. But Billy, you've been nodding along for a while. So wrap us up here.
So I'll give you one thing I like and one thing that I don't like. The one thing I do like is that in the spirit of meeting customers where they are, this does do that, right? Mm-hmm. If somebody is on TikTok and spending a lot of time on TikTok, there is a demographic that you are meeting where they are, which I think is only a good thing. The thing I don't like, and I'm actually gonna counterpoint to what you were just talking about in terms of the distribution center, I actually don't like that play. And I don't like it because they're not a distribution company. They're a tech company. I would much rather them be a conduit to it than otherwise. And you think about the idea of the micro influencers, things like that as well, and using more localized sources. I think that routing it to them for fulfillment for them, there's a value if I'm a small regional or just a one shingle store of fulfilling that order and creating that customer connection that gets robbed from me if if I'm not the one handling that. And so I actually don't like the fact that they're investing in distribution centers. I really would much rather see them stick to their guns as a tech play.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. That was kind of our thought. It was my thoughts last week. Ann's playing the contrarian. And we were joking, for those listening. We were joking beforehand on the show, like, who was going to play the contrarian card here amongst the four of us. And I think Ann wins it on TikTok. Ann's continuing to take the contrarian stance on TikTok against our prevailing thoughts here. But let's keep rolling. Headline number 4, Nike launched .swoosh, a marketplace to collect and trade virtual products. According to Retail Dive, registration to join .swoosh, can't stop saying that, begins in November, and Nike will invite a larger group of individuals to join over the course of the year. The platform is enabled by Web3, of course it is, the concept of a new version of the internet based on blockchain, and allows Nike members to collect and co-create virtual objects like jerseys and shoes. Jonathan, my question for you is simple. Did Nike just do it again?
So I have an inkling that if anyone's going to monetize the metaverse, these might be the guys, you know. Yep. And there's a whole bunch of reasons. And I'll be honest, I haven't kind of completely kind of formed them into a perfect thread, but there are a few things going on that I think give them a significant advantage, right? So the first thing is sneakerheads, right? I mean, if you can't get the real deal, then get the NFT version, right? And I am very confident, not being one myself, but I am very confident that people will trade serious dollars for the NFT version of a shoe they can't get hold of. The second thing is this is a product ecosystem that already has a kind of customization, you know, Nike by you. There's a value and an expectation of customization, and you can have a lot of fun kind of customizing in the metaverse. I'm a runner. I have a bunch of Nike Pegasus by you, different colorways. I go and choose which colorway I want to run in depending on the weather. It's all very sad, but anyway. So now I need
a photo of that, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'll show my running shoe wall. I'll send you a photo. So I now know I'm going to spend hours basically doing the metaverse version, and then who knows? I may choose to buy one or two of them because I like the look of them. And then the other thing that I'm pretty sure will be going on here is this is a way for them to crowdsource designs, right? And market test designs. And again, it just feels like the sort of market where it could work and it could take off. The other thing that I'm interested in is how does this tie into virtual reality, right? So I see the design or the option on Swoosh, and then can I see what it looks like on my feet? Can I see what it looks like on me? There's got to be a tie-up there. You're already seeing people kind of trying to customize shoes and sort of present how they look on a run, et cetera, et cetera. There's got to be people way smarter than me are going to thread that needle, but this feels like it has potential.
Yeah, that's a great point. They're already doing that on GOAT right now. It's something that would be amazing for them to bring into this.
Yeah, I mean, so you're on it. You think they've done a good move here. I think it's great too. Like the thing I love about it too is like it's all incremental profit. Like to me, it's just like a new version of the retail media network. Only it's a retail media network that only a few people can do to drive profit. And Nike has the chutzpah to pull this off, to your point. So I think it's brilliant because they're cool. But Billy, what do you think?
I can't agree anymore with everything that's been said. I mean, the thing about Nike, right, is they're in such rarefied air as a brand that there's very little that they can do that isn't going to turn out, you know, really well. I think they always have to intentionally do something to not turn out well. I mean, because Nike's religion, it is a religion for people. And this is just another way to evangelize that religion. The thing that excited me the most on it, and Jonathan, you said this earlier, is what this does for crowdsourcing design. Because I think you look at the market of people after, you know, this was, you know, bigger probably 10 to 12, maybe 15 years ago, but people taking Air Force Ones or Dunks and doing aftermarket design to them, and those shoes being sold for, you know, for an awful lot. I mean, I think an entire industry was born out of that. This brings that home to Nike, right? You're not going to have, I think, what was it? Fukijama was one of the names of one of those designers out there. I just remember that from Entourage. That was one of the that is not going to be out there anymore. That's going to be at Nike. That'll be in Beaverton. So I can't help but think, to your point, Chris, yes, they just did it again.
Right. And anything to add here, or should we go on to the last
I'm just going to be
story?
depositing all of my kid's allowance directly into his Swoosh Nike account. It's gone. That generation is already going to go bonkers over this. I think it's I don't know. Nike's done it again. That's all there is to say about it here. All right, let's go into headline number 5. So Victoria's Secret wants to make finding the perfect bra easier. According to a press release, Victoria's Secret announced it is introducing a new technology to help customers easily find the right size when shopping on the Victoria's Secret app for their favorite Victoria's Secret and Victoria's Secret pink bras. Now, in partnership with Verifyt, the world's leading fit technology provider and creator of Verifyt, spelled Verifyt, registered trademark, customers will be able to leverage the 3D scan technology to receive personalized bra size recommendations with no measuring tape needed. Said Chris Rupp, Victoria's Secret's chief customer officer, quote, "We are thrilled to offer this new technology to our customers to give them even more confidence when buying their favorite Victoria's Secret and pink bras," end quote. Jonathan, this might be a hard question for you personally to answer, but when you're thinking about this kind of fit technology, what are your thoughts on the technology in general as it applies to multiple categories, and then here for the Victoria's Secret customer? And how are you thinking about that when clients are asking you about this?
Yes, I mean, in a way, this is somewhat related to the topic we just talked about, right? Which is using a kind of a virtual and augmented reality technology in some way to either enhance the design process at the start, or I actually think in this case, to reduce the returns process at the end, right? Yep. So it's just taking a kind of difficulty point away for the consumer. And I think the other thing that makes it, I think, particularly relevant in this category, and as you correctly point out, Anne, I speak from the point of view of a consumer researcher rather than a user, but I've done quite a lot of research in this sector with consumers. And the one thing we do know that for a retailer of this type, if they get intimates right, then they drive an awful lot of loyalty across the rest of the range. Right. So I can kind of see the quite strong kind of loyalty building it will drive. And like I said, improving the economics of e-commerce through reduced returns. The other thing I think for Victoria's Secret that it does is it sort of emphasizes for them their functional benefits of the brand, as well as the sort of fashion indulgence elements of the brand. And that can't be a bad thing for them, giving them sort of more legs to the stool. Yes. In terms of that attribute. So I can kind of see it, and I can see it particularly in this sector. I guess the only thing I'm fearful of is when Tommy Johns start doing it for us guys.
Hey, Savage by Fenty is already doing it for the men. Amazon's doing it for t-shirts. I think you're 100% right, like with your 2 points of, reducing returns and just having confidence in fit, regardless of the type of product, because the fit for functional lingerie and the fit for other like just style and fashionable lingerie is completely different in a lot of cases. But Billy, I don't know if you want to comment on that specifically, but I know you had some comments earlier on. So why don't you share with us what you're thinking?
My knee-jerk reaction to this was, virtual fit technology has been around for a while now. Is this the moment where it's finally going to hit?
I hope so.
And in a popularity sense, right? That was my first thought. I think the application, to Victoria's Secret is especially along the lines of function and everything else that Jonathan was just saying. I agree with that. I do have, though, as a husband and as a father of a daughter, a grave concern with this, which is how is it going to work? Because the photos needed for this, I would think, require a level of intimacy, pun intended or not, that security of the images that are provided to me is of paramount concern. How are you going to do this and recommend a bra without a certain level of exposure in those images, right? That's of concern to me. But then also, from a business perspective, as a consumer, how are we going, what's the level of effectiveness of this working the first time? If it doesn't work the first time, there's not going to be a second chance for, I would think, the overwhelming number of consumers here. So if this doesn't hit a home run right away for consumers, it's going to be, unfortunately, just more of the same with what a lot of these technologies have been. My personal experience with virtual fit technologies was underwhelming, on its best day.
Yeah.
So those are the additional, I guess, points I would bring to the table.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, fit technology has been around for a while. I really believe, I mean, I've said this several times. We had a conversation with Microsoft that we're going to be doing a live event later today. But I think fit technology is going to be one of the most, I guess, prominent technologies that we start to see over the course of the next year. I think you look at the experiences that Savage by Fenty has been able to provide in exactly what you're saying, Billy. Like, I did that test. I took it out. Like, it is giving me a very high degree of accuracy when it's giving me a fit recommendation. And I think, to address your point, I mean, I did the Victoria's Secret one yesterday just to try it out and see. We'll see what I ordered the recommendation. We'll see what happens here. But I think that the other point of this is, like, it's not getting down to a level that's uncomfortable. Like, it's a sports bra. It's, tight fitting t-shirts and stuff. It will be a matter of how precise the technology can get with, a level that lots of people can be comfortable with. But right now, the alternative is a complete stranger coming in and measuring you with no shirt on. Like, this is it. Like, that's an awful experience. It's not good right now. You're not getting good recommendations. So I think that the fit technology experience can only go up from here. And I think with Chris Rupp at the helm over there, like, she loves to test things. We saw her doing all kinds of experiments at Albertsons. So I'm excited to see what else she starts to do. And kudos to her. She's the first one to bring, fit technology to mass retail. Like, this is going to be something really exciting, I think, as kind of an introduction. Chris, are you in agreement with me? I mean, what are your thoughts? Chris tests a lot of things, so.
I'm a little more cautious on this than you are, I think.
Okay.
That'll probably be the last point to cap it off here. I think the point Billy makes is there's still a lot of grunt work that has to be done on the side of the consumer to get the benefit of this. So I think maybe this is like going to help push it over the edge to get it, possibly figure out how to alleviate all those pressures on the consumer side. I hope so, because I think you're right. There's a lot of value to it if you can figure it out. But I still think it's going to take more time than you're describing. But that's just my opinion. So I think we should close this show out. We're running long, and let's get to the lightning round.
All right, Billy, first question goes to you. Coors Light launched a nail polish made in partnership with Le Chat Nails that mimics the can technology that turns from slate gray to Coors Light blue at a certain temperature. Billy, what is your favorite color changing product? Would it be a Coors Light can, perhaps a mood ring, or a hypercolor t-shirt?
Oh, hypercolor t-shirt.
Did you have one?
That's childhood, right?
You had a
I didn't have one, and that's probably why I was so quick to say it, because I'd never had one of those.
I had a hypercolor t-shirt. It was not hypercolor. Those were too expensive. So we just...
You're still hypercolor, Ann. All right. Amazon, Jonathan, is said to be piloting facial recognition as a tool to validate potential third-party sellers on its website. Jonathan, what is the most memorable mask you have ever worn to hide your face from other people?
Okay, revealing my deep imposter syndrome. Maybe it's the mask of professional competence I've worn for the last 20 years of my career. But apart from that, there is one photo circulating of me dressed fully top to toe as a dragon, chugging beers at an international rugby game. And I'm trying to chase down all of the copies and destroy them.
2 photos we need for the show notes, Jonathan.
Oh
Your
God,
shoe
yes.
wall and the dragon chugging beer at a rugby match. Okay, Jonathan, I have another question for you. Microsoft just launched a new app in Teams that allows colleagues to challenge each other to a game of Minesweeper, Wordament, Icebreaker, and even Solitaire. Which of these games would you reign champion in across your colleagues at A&M?
So I have a write-in campaign for another game, which is I have huge confidence that were it Crossy Road, I would win.
What is Crossy Road?
It's like the new version of Frogger.
You got to play Crossy Road. Played it with my daughter for years. She's better than me, but I'm pretty good.
That's pretty good, man. That's pretty good. All right, Billy, let's close it out here. Stovetop brand is celebrating its 50th anniversary by reviving its stuffing pants campaign for Thanksgiving. The pants are available on Amazon and feature an extra wide stuffing print waistband that offers 360-degree stuffing stretch technology. Billy, what is your favorite thing to scarf down at the Thanksgiving dinner table?
I got to go with what I think my first reaction was, which is mashed potatoes. Just
Nice.
give me mashed potatoes and load them up or not loaded up. Just give me the mashed potatoes.
Little gravy, and is cringing as you say that right now. Oh my God. No. That's like her least favorite thing in the world. All right. Well, that wraps us up. Happy birthday today to Rachel McAdams, Danny DeVito, and to one of the most underappreciated Bond girls of all time, Sophie Marceau. And remember, if you can only read or listen to one retail blog in the business, make it OmniTalk. Our Fast 5 podcast is the quickest, fastest rundown of all the week's top news. And our twice weekly newsletter tells you the top 5 things you need to know each day, and also features special content exclusive to us, and it's just for you. And we try really hard to make it all fit within the preview pane of your inbox. You can sign up today at www.omnitalk.blog. That might have been one too many W's, but I'm not sure. We'll have to go back and read the tape. Thanks as always for listening in. But before I give the close, Jonathan, if people want to get in touch with you at the A&M Consumer and Retail Group, what's the best way for them to do that?
Of course. So you can email me at jonathan.sharp@alvarezandmarçal.com. You can also go to our website, which is alvarezandmarçal. I'm sorry. I did your W mistake there.
I know, right?
It's alvarezandmarçal-crg.com. And Billy, you should give your contact details.
Yep. My email address is bchristensen, BCHRISTENSEN @alvarezandmarçal.com. And you can also find us on LinkedIn.
All right. Awesome. For all those listening, please remember to like and leave us a review wherever you happen to listen to your podcast or on YouTube. And on behalf of all of us at OmniTalk, as always, be careful out there.
The OmniTalk Fast 5 is a Microsoft-sponsored podcast. Microsoft Cloud for Retail connects your customers, your people, and your data across the shopper journey, delivering personalized experiences and operational excellence. And is also brought to you in association with the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. The A&M Consumer and Retail Group is a management consulting firm that tackles the most complex challenges and advances its clients, people, and communities toward their maximum potential. CRG brings the experience, tools, and operator-like pragmatism to help retailers and consumer products companies be on the right side of disruption. And Takeoff. Takeoff is transforming grocery by empowering grocers to thrive online. The key is micro-fulfillment, small robotic fulfillment centers that can be leveraged at a hyper-local scale. Takeoff also offers a robust software suite so that grocers can seamlessly integrate the robotic solution into their existing businesses. To learn more, visit takeoff.com. Sezzle. Sezzle is an innovative buy now, pay later solution that allows shoppers to split purchases into 4 interest-free payments over 6 weeks. To learn more, visit Sezzle.com. And finally, Silk. The Silk Cloud DB virtualization platform is a virtualization layer between your workloads and the cloud. It helps you scale your cloud without scaling your costs. Visit silk.us to learn more.